So a little bit of a different video for the midweek upload. Hopefully most of you now have seen the Netflix documentary called The Last Dance, all about the Chicago Bulls and Michael Jordan. Hey, what's up guys? Dan Trevidi here. I hope you're all well. Those of you who knew me before Property will know that basketball was my complete life. And growing up in my teens and in my early 20s, it was everything. It was what I did at school, what I did outside of school, what I did at home, what I did for fun, what I did on the weekends. It completely dominated my life. I'm pretty much the age of 11 right through to my early 20s. And it wasn't long before I discovered Michael Jordan, and he became a person that was all over the posters, all over my room. I remember when I was like 12, 13 years old, my mum took me to Woolworths, able to buy a double video cassette all about Michael Jordan, and I couldn't wait to get home and hear his voice for the first time, because the only way in England that you really saw and heard of Michael Jordan was through magazines and newspapers. Why am I doing a video on this documentary and what it meant to me, and more importantly, what basketball did for me? Well, the reason being is a lot of people who are maybe just starting out in property or are thinking about getting started will have a lot of negativity holding them back, a lot of negative voices, a lot of people around them, maybe convincing them that now's not the right time to get into it. And something very similar happened to me when I was playing basketball. And I'm going to talk to you about the effects on my life and what that had, and how I was able to use those learnings. And when I got going in property, I wasn't going to let the negativity pull me back. So it is kind of related to property, as all my videos will be, but there's an underlying message here about the mindset and the drive, and the attitude is more important than anything else when you're getting started. So we'll go back. Now, I can't exactly remember when it was, but I was pretty young, and I think discovered this film called Teen Wolf, and that was my first taste of basketball. Michael J. Fox, that opening scene when you're hearing the basketball before you see any clips, and then it's him taking his free throw shots. I was hooked the moment I started watching that film. And I remember my mum and dad taking me to one of the few sports shops that were in Norwich at the time, and I was able to buy this orange basketball ring, and it was put up on the wall in our back garden. And I don't think I even had any slabs to play. I would just play on the bare grass, which soon wore away to mud. So eventually I had paving slabs put down, and I was able to start to really get into basketball. Really, just before I went to high school, it started to take over my life, and I discovered Chicago Bulls. I was buying their tops, wearing them, and I never forget when I went to the open day of the high school, and then I started high school the following year. I made loads of new friends, and we would talk about the open day, and people say, yeah, we always used to call you the Chicago Bulls guy. And then when I got to high school, that's when I really got into it. It'd be disappointing, because I went to a really sporty school, but my year, for whatever reason, in that first year, didn't have a team. And I remember playing in the PE classes, and the PE teacher, who also taught my dad, said, look, why don't you come and play for the year above? So I was able to play for a team, albeit the year above. So I was like young one, didn't know anyone, bit intimidated, didn't really do much. And I remember begging my dad to start a team, and he had no experience in basketball. He was quite sporty in something else, but he said, yeah, do you know what, we'll hire a hall, we'll give it a go. And really, we started our own team from there. And fast forward on a year, 2 years down the line, we created a team that was competing in the national leagues, and we all improved massively. And I had a group of friends who were all into basketball, and it became our life. And as we started playing at different levels, and I started playing more frequently, and started playing for like the county and then the South region, and in these leagues where you were traveling to London and playing some of the best teams in the country at the time against some of the best players, you all started to improve. And I think I was about 14 when I thought to myself, this is what I want to do. I don't just want to play for fun. I want to be a professional basketball player. I want it to be how I earn a living. I want to be like Michael Jordan. And I remember thinking, I've got to really step up. And I was playing for a men's team that night, and just went for it. And I didn't let fear hold me back. Whenever I played for a team that really I wasn't in my comfort zone, like a men's team or like the year above, I was out of my comfort zone, and my confidence would be quite knocked. And I remember just thinking, fuck it, I'm just going to go for it. And I had a cracking game. And some of these guys that I was playing with, I didn't even want to look at in the eye, because they were so intimidating. they were high-fiving me and, you know, saying well done. And when I got a foul and taking free throw shots, they were giving me high fives. I felt like really part of the team. I felt really good. I remember that summer I trained really hard. I was pretty tall for my age, but I wasn't tall for a basketball player. So I knew that I had to learn how to jump high. So I started working on that and doing programs. Also, I could dunk the ball. I started to improve and I was really pushing myself and I had no limits. And it didn't matter who I was talking to or how many games I lost or how many bad games I had. All I could focus on was getting better to take the next step, which was to go to America. And eventually I did go. I went in the summer when I was approaching my 16th birthday, so I was 15. Had a great time and I improved massively and I came back a completely different player. And I remember at that point when I started to play games and I would have amazing games. I remember one school game, I hit like 46 points and that was like the best game I ever had. But as I started to progress, there was this seed of doubt, this seed of negativity. And as I started to play with other people or people in my age started to get better, I started to think that I wasn't good enough, wasn't fit enough, or I didn't have the right skill set, or I wasn't ever tall enough. And all these doubts started to take over and confidence dropped. There was also, had so many good games for the last couple of seasons, there was an expectation that I was going to turn up and deliver a match-winning performance. And when that set in, along with all the politics that went on with local basketball and national basketball, and with my dad being involved and all these other things going on, there was lots of negative voices surrounding me playing basketball. And with the negative voices and the naysayers and my own self-doubt, my own lack of belief, I started to get really anxious before games. I would get to the point where I was being sick before playing a game. In the end, I stopped wanting to play because I felt so sick. So I found excuses not to go here, found excuses not to play here, convinced myself that I wasn't good enough, and I convinced myself I wasn't going to get any better. And it came to the point where, like 19, getting on for 20, and I'd admitted defeat. I told myself I was never going to go any further forward with it. And straight away, I had lost my dream. And it wasn't through my ability, I was pretty good. And it definitely wasn't through my dedication, because I trained like there was absolutely no tomorrow. And I would always turn up and I wouldn't go out drinking. I was completely focused. It was through lack of belief, lack of confidence, and listening to the naysayers, the negativity and the politics. I didn't focus on what I was good at, and I didn't focus on what was going to take me further forward. And eventually I got a job, and then that turned into a career, and then a career enabled me to learn about things like property, and then I decided to buy a property too far after that, and that got me going to kind of where I am today. But the reason why I'm doing this video is if you look at The Last Dance and Michael Jordan, and you look at how competitive he was, and you look at his skill set, he was focused on winning, and he did whatever it took to win. And he didn't listen to the negativity, and he didn't let anything pull him back. And there was a lot over the years that attempted to pull him back and stop him doing what he was doing. It was only a few years later when I realised that I may have been able to go all the way. I might not have done. Look, you know, I wasn't the best player in the country at the time when I was at that age, so who knows? The problem is I'll never know. I'm too old now. Well, never say never. I realised that I didn't push myself to the point where someone else stopped me. I stopped myself. And then later on in life, in my late 20s, when I reignited my property journey, and I started ramping it up and reading and learning, and that was the catalyst of creating a business which enabled me to go off and do multiple things and become a full-time property investor. I remember in 2014 when I was really starting just to kick it off, having the same doubts, having the same lack of belief, having the same anxious feelings before I would go to events and networking or speak or look at a property and buy it and then have buyer's remorse. And being probably 10 years on since I left the dream of becoming a professional basketball player, I knew that if I let the same negativity, the same naysayers, the same level of doubt, the same lack of belief take over this time, then I'm never going to make anything of my life. So I decided to wrap it up, in a ball and chuck it away. And I just focused on what I was going to do, and I focused on getting there. And without hesitation, I pushed forward, and that was 2014. In 2015, had a record year, 30-something properties in 1 year. The following year, double that. 2017, talking like 7-8 million pounds worth of purchases in property. And then 2018, 2019, it's just all ramped up from there. And then I've gone on to sell various businesses and semi-retire. And if it hadn't have been for what happened in basketball, I wouldn't have been able to take those same learnings and create a life through property, because the naysayers, the trolls, the negativity would have just overtaken me. But I absolutely believed 100% that I was going to do it. It didn't matter that I had no money. It didn't matter that people around me that I loved and trusted were telling me, there is no way you're going to be able to work with investors. There is no way you're going to be able to buy that level of property. There is no way that you're going to be able to do X, Y, and Z. I just blanked it out. I just completely blanked it out. And I carried on, and I was focused. And it didn't matter what hurdle was going to come up, I was going to overcome it. And there will be loads of hurdles in everyone's property journey. I'm not unique, it happens to everyone. And you just overcome it, and you become more resilient against problems. And property investors and property developers are probably the best problem solvers, because you have to solve multiple complex moving problems all the time, and it's just the nature of the beast. And look, there'll be people that I play basketball with watching this video thinking, Dan, you weren't that good. And they're probably right, but who knows? Off the topic of the coronavirus, off the topic of property, but really in the mindset, the only thing that is stopping you from creating everything that you want is your own mindset, is your own attitude and your own self-belief. And with the time that we've all had, the world is now pretty much getting back to the normal. I mean, this week, Monday, it was pretty much like a normal Monday for me. Builders coming and going, multiple projects going on, phone non-stop, emails pinging left, right and centre. Pretty much getting back to some form of new normality. But if you haven't taken the opportunity to learn a new skill or stuff started that you've been putting off for months or if not years, then time isn't your enemy, it's yourself. It's your attitude and it's your mindset. The best time to start something was yesterday. The second best is right now. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. But that's it from me, really quick video. Don't forget to hit the like button, don't forget to hit subscribe, and I'll catch you all on the next video over the weekend, which will be all about property.